Episode 15, Zillow Exposed, how to use it without getting played. I'm back. Hey, what's up, friends? After a little 3 month break, first time keys, and your Uncle Adam is back, and I'm coming back in hot. All right, so let me explain a little bit about what happened, why I needed to step away for a bit. So, back in April, long story short, I had some serious health concerns. Actually, ended up in the hospital. So, decided to take a break. We went on a vacation. Was doing everything I could to kind of clear my head, kind of clean the table, so to speak, removing some stresses, removing some worries, and some things that were causing some of my health concerns. And unfortunately, had to kind of put the podcast on hold. But it also gave me a chance, especially while we were on vacation. By the way, went to Denver, Colorado. Beautiful area. Got to hike the Rocky Mountains. Got to take the cog train up to Pikes Peak. Saw a concert, Brit Floyd, at Red Rocks. If you have not had the opportunity to check out the Denver area, I 100% endorse it. And I understand why so many people are moving out there. I mean, everywhere you look is a postcard. So beautiful area, amazing people, food phenomenal. So we got a chance to go on vacation. And while I'm on vacation, kind of gave me a chance to step back and take that 3,000 foot view, not only at our market and what I was doing with some fresh eyes, and also gave me a chance, if I'm being real, to really examine the episodes that we're putting out. And I wanted to make sure that the content, the videos that we're putting out, is not just for the sake of putting content out, but also showing up and giving you guys some real, actual value. So, if you're a first-time home buyer, you're trying to figure out how to navigate this chaotic market, I've got you. And if you're tired of the sugar-coated, overly generic advice that's out there, well, welcome to the real show. This is the First Time Keys podcast. I am your host, Adam McAllister. I am a longtime agent here in the central PA area. I'm with eXp Realty. I've got an amazing team. So if you are thinking about buying a home or even thinking about selling a home, or you're relocating to the area, or you're just getting ready to move, give me a call. Be happy to connect with you. Send me a message and let me help make the home buying journey a little less stressful, because that's our goal here at the First Time Keys. Today's episode, we're jumping feet first. Not feet first, we're jumping head first. I've been wanting to do this episode ever since we kicked off the pod, because this is a big one. We're going after the big fish. And you probably already have the app. You definitely have scrolled through the listings. You may have even clicked that little contact agent button. That's right. We're talking about Zillow, and not just talking, I'm exposing it. Now, full transparency, because I'm going to level with you here. We are and have been a Zillow partner, in air quotes, as they like to refer to us, since 2014. We have paid to advertise on Zillow. In fact, up until last month, we were what was known as a Zillow Flex partner, which meant we got the higher level of Zillow, but they also took up to 40% of our commission when those transactions closed, and did a whole lot of micromanaging. So when it comes to explaining how Zillow works, believe me, I've got the behind the velvet rope view of how Zillow works. But before I get into how Zillow might be screwing with your home search, it's true. Let's rewind and look at where this all started. Because Zillow didn't just fall from the sky as some friendly home search fairy. Oh, hell no. You see, back in 2006, a couple of guys from Microsoft and Expedia. Yep, that's right. Microsoft and Expedia, travel and tech, not real estate. They decided to shake things up. We're talking about the disruption economy. You know, 2006, right there. They thought, what if we took all of the home data that real estate agents rely on and throw it online for the public? Boom, Zillow was born. And yeah, it's kind of cool, kind of revolutionary. You could sit on your couch, scroll listings in your sweatpants, eat Cheetos and look at $1 million homes. And you could feel like a DIY real estate expert. But here's the deal. Zillow was never built to help you buy a house. It was built to monetize your attention. That's right. You're the product. Your attention is the product. That shiny contact agent button that you think connects you to the listing agent? No, it never does. That sends your info to an agent who paid Zillow, like me, to show up in your zip code. Now, someone who might be awesome, or they might be completely clueless, yet they were able to pass their state's real estate licensing course and can practice real estate. Zillow doesn't care. As long as that person has a checkbook and a credit account and Zillow gets paid, they don't care. So that's the big thing to keep in mind. When you're browsing homes on Zillow and you hit that contact agent button and you're thinking, oh, I'm trying to find out deeper details about this house. Is that kitchen counter? Is that granite? I couldn't quite see pictures of the basement. What's it look like? I'll hit the contact agent button and I'll be able to contact the listing agent directly. It's not how it works. All right. So when you hit contact agent, you are just getting someone who paid to be in that zip code. And keep in mind, in our area, that can be as many as 8 to 10 agents. Now, the gamut can be you may connect with an amazing agent who's going to give you a phenomenal Disney World type experience when it comes to buying a home. That's our goal. When you contact us, and we want to give you the best service possible. But you also might end up with someone who struggles to figure out how to put on a pair of Crocs. Like Velcro is a difficult thing for them to figure out. But they got a real estate license and a checkbook, so therefore, hey, that's the agent you got connected with. So keep that in mind when you hit the contact agent button. Now the big thing, now the next big thing, and something that drives every agent worth their salt crazy about. That's right, the Zestimate. That is algorithmic guesswork at best. It is not gospel. I have seen Zestimates be off by tens of thousands of dollars. We'll get, in fact, I'm going to save it. I have a story to tell about Zestimates in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for that one. It's an amazing, it's funny and kind of sad all at the same time. But a Zestimate, it's based off an algorithm. It goes, here's the square footage, here's the beds and baths. We have enough information to know, okay, here's what homes have sold for in that area with that criteria. But here's the thing. Zillow and their Zestimators, they've never stepped foot in your house. They don't know if your kitchen is the best of 1978 or you spent thousands updating it. They don't know about the finished basement that you put in with the club room and the man cave and all the stuff. All they can see is square footage. Zillow is not just showing you listings either anymore. See, now they've gotten into the mortgage game and they even bought and sold homes directly. I'll get into that in just a few minutes. So the thing you have to keep in mind is, are they helping you or are they steering you? And that's a big one. Because as an agent, I've got to be able to give you, when you ask me for a mortgage lender, I've got to be able to furnish you more than one. Same thing when it comes to home inspectors or title companies or insurance companies. I've got to give you more than one. Otherwise, it can look as though I, as an agent, am trying to steer the companies that you're working with. Zillow, they actually have a criteria and a quota for how many folks get connected to their mortgage lender. So keep that in mind. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to use Zillow without getting played and what you need to do to keep control of your search and protect your home buying goals. Are you ready? All right, let's get into it. Number one, what Zillow really is. Okay, what Zillow really is they're a tech company. They're not a real estate company. Now, keeping that in mind, Zillow is doing everything they can to become a real estate company, to become a brokerage, a nationwide brokerage, but without ever actually becoming a brokerage. You see, with agents coming in as premier agents or Zillow Flex agents, where they're either paying a monthly fee to show up into the zip codes that you're looking to buy a home in, or they're a Zillow Flex where they're no longer paying in monthly, but they're paying in dearly with the amount of commission that Zillow takes out of those checks when you actually go to closing. That's how Zillow is getting paid. Now, in addition to that, Zillow also owns Follow Up Boss, which is a CRM. So a client data tool that agents are using to market to you every single week, every single month until they secure you as a client and you buy a home. So they own a CRM service. They also own a document management service known as Dotloop, which is one of the largest document real estate companies, software in our industry. We use it. We've used it for years, and it's great. Zillow owns them. So there is a really, really good chance of whether or not you connected with the agent you're working with through Zillow, that somewhere along the real estate line of home buying and home selling, Zillow was connected in one way or the other. The other thing to keep in mind with what Zillow really is its customers are advertisers. As we keep mentioning, these are agents who pay to get access to you. Just like social media, you are the commodity. Same way with Zillow. Your data, your information, that's what's getting sold to agents who are buying in to the zip codes in which you're looking to buy a home. All right, now let's get into the Zestimate. As we mentioned before, the Zestimate is a computer-generated estimate. It's not a professional appraisal. So, fun story. Now, put a pin in that. Zillow convention back in 2022 that I was at. Agents everywhere hate the Zestimate because it's just false data. It's misinformation. It's alternative facts, if you would. And we brought it up to Zillow, to their highest level mustache there at the Zillow convention, saying, "Why do you guys still use these? They're complete junk. They're not real." So I forget if it was the CEO or the COO or their brand marketing strategist person says they view a Zestimate as a conversation starter. Nothing more, nothing less. A conversation starter. The problem with the conversation starter that's complete bullshit is that now you have people defensive because most folks look at the Zestimate as, oh, that's the real value of the house. I trust Zillow to show me photos and to show me new homes that hit the market all the time. They're the real estate expert, as it looks like. So therefore, if they're telling me what their perceived value of that home is, well, that's already in my mind as that's how much I'm going to be asking or what my perception of the value of that house really is. And in reality, that value means absolutely nothing. Nada, zip. There is no point in the home buying process that your lender or the banks or the title company or anyone asks for the Zestimate of the house. It just has no bearing whatsoever. In fact, I don't have one story, I have two stories to share with the Zestimate. The first one goes back to something we talked about a minute ago, where at one point, not that long ago, Zillow had a program called their iBuyer program. They launched this in 2017, where based off their Zestimates, they were going and actually making direct offers to folks to buy their home and then resell them. They were basically their own wholesaler. Think of them as the local real estate investment firm that's got bad commercials that's out, trying to, wholesale grandma's house for pennies on the dollar. So Zillow's iBuyer program, they get out there and they start buying homes. And COVID hits and they're continuing to try to redo their algorithms because of how crazy supply and demand went, and with everything, how the property values increased so drastically in 2020. But Zillow's still got their iBuyer program. In fact, they launched nationwide. They're now across the country. And by 2022, it was dead. Why? Because their Zestimates were so far off, they realized they couldn't make money. They could not be a profitable business based off the Zestimates they were giving. So, how good are their Zestimates? They're so good, it actually bankrupted a section of their company. That's how reliable a Zestimate is. So, keep that in mind. I know I just went off on a tangent, but I can't stress enough just how fake that number really is. And finally, listings may be outdated or inaccurate due to syndication delays on the MLSs that they're working with across the country. Zillow is also not just pulling from the local real estate MLSs, they're also pulling off the tax records and public records. So you may actually see a home, you may see an address that's not actually for sale. Fun story with this one, had a gentleman call me. This is years ago. This is like 2015, 2016. Calls me up one random night and he's livid. Like, I can tell this is going to be a combative, tough conversation. I'm actually a little concerned that I picked up the call. So guy calls in via Zillow, and he's like, "Hey, I'm calling about 123 Main Street. I can't remember the address at this time." And I'm looking, and I go directly to our MLS, and I can't find this home to save my life. I got no idea where the hell this thing's at. He gave me the property address, and I'm like, this thing's not for sale. Because keep in mind, unless it's a for sale by owner, our MLS has every property for sale in our area, in fact, in our region. So if it's legitimately for sale, I can find it and I can get details, but it's nowhere to be found. So I do a Google search, type in the address. Sure enough, boom, first thing comes up, Zillow, and it's got the property. I'm looking at it and I'm like, "Sir, this home isn't for sale." In very small faint print, it says not active, which in real estate terms means it's not for sale. And immediately his tone of voice changed. He went from ready to come through the phone at me to now the biggest teddy bear you could find on the other end of the phone line. And he tells me, he goes, "You mean it's not for sale?" And I went, "No, it's not for sale." "Oh, thank God." And I'm like, what the hell is this? Where is this story going? And I'm like, "No." I said, "What, is everything okay?" He's like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I was scared to death." And I'm like, "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, my girlfriend and I got into a fight this morning, and she told me she was going to list my home for sale, and I just took a break from work, and I looked on the computer, and sure enough, there it was online." And I was like, "Nope. Not to worry, your home's not for sale. It's just an old listing. Zillow pulls stuff from everywhere." He was immediately relieved. So keep that in mind. You might be looking at properties that aren't actually for sale, or they could actually be already under contract. So again, Zillow, not a brokerage, not a real estate company. They're a data marketing and data retention selling company. All right. Now let's move on to the next part of this. How Zillow creates barriers. All right. We already talked about this one. Clicking contact agent connects you to paid advertisers, not the listing agent. So if you're looking to get a hold of that listing agent, and sometimes there's legit reasons to do so, but you're never going to reach them through Zillow. Now, if you pay close attention on a Zillow listing, on a home listed on Zillow, many times at the very bottom, there will be listed by the actual listing agent's name and their brokerage. So that is how you can contact them. But if you just hit the contact agent button, you're just getting in contact with a random agent who's stroking a check to be marketed in that zip code. we've talked before about why you want to have your own agent and not contacting the listing agent. Though there are times that come up where I've gotten a call and it legit should be a call directed at the listing agent, especially if it's a neighbor who notices something about the property and they're legit trying to get a hold of the owner. Hey, we saw somebody sneaking around the house. Hey, there's a light that's been left on for the last 3 days. And the general consumer will contact Zillow through, or will contact me through a contact agent button on Zillow, thinking they're reaching the listing agent to get that information over to the seller. And now I've got to be middleman over to the listing agent to let them know. So again, when you hit contact agent, you're not getting the listing agent, you're getting a random agent paying to be in that area. It creates confusion between agents and buyers. And you're thinking, Adam, how does it create confusion? Here's exactly how. You're working on getting your home. You've already got an agent that you're working with. But let's say it's 6 o'clock in the evening and you just happen to be sitting there eating dinner, browsing through homes, and you see one that you like, and you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to bother my agent. I just want to try to get a question answered. So I'm going to hit the contact agent button. And that way I can get the information that I want. My curiosity is satisfied. And if I like it more, I can let my agent know we can go see it. Instead, what happens is you hit the contact agent button. It rings a random agent who's, again, paying to be in that zip code that you're looking in. And now you have an agent on the other end who thinks they might be getting a buyer lead, a potential client lead, that they can help buy a home. And instead, it's actually someone who's like yourself, who's committed to working with another agent. So it creates massive confusion. Even worse so is if you as a consumer don't let that agent know who you contacted on Zillow that you're already working with another agent. So it just creates massive confusion. If you aren't transparent and saying, hey, I'm already working with someone, that now that's another agent on the other side who's going, well, wait a minute, I now have time, gas, all that involved with someone who I was never even going to be able to help in the first place. Now, granted, with all the changes that have happened in the real estate world, you want to try to be as proactive as you can and quantify someone before you go out, but not always does that happen. So creating confusion is one thing that Zillow does on a regular basis, and it can also delay your process and or set unrealistic expectations. Again, by connecting you with someone who you didn't think was going to be the agent you thought they were, setting you out on homes that really, or having you look at homes that aren't really on the market, and even connecting you with their mortgage company that might not be the best mortgage company and financer that you really should be talking to. So let's go down this rabbit hole for a minute. Within the last year or so, Zillow has opened up Zillow Home Loans. And they do your typical in the box mortgages. But I can tell you here in Pennsylvania, the majority of first time home buyers that we've worked with over the last 2 years have been using first time home buyer programs, something Zillow Home Loans doesn't necessarily have. So they are wanting a certain quota of folks using Zillow that are getting connected with the agents that Zillow is getting checks from to be connected with their Zillow Home Loans, and then closing so many loans per month to hit certain quotas. Again, where people are being steered to use, or potentially being steered to use, Zillow Home Loans instead of a trusted local mortgage lender. So again, these are the things that Zillow has in place, all as a way to monetize you and your real estate attention. Now, let's get into the flip side. Smart ways you can use Zillow if you're going to use it and not get played. Here are strategies to use when it comes for Zillow. Use it to browse and get inspired. Don't use it to make final decisions. Use Zillow to get an idea of the types of homes that are on the market. If you're looking for 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, but you have certain styles that you like, there's nothing wrong with going on Zillow and getting an idea of what's out there in your local market that you like. What's the current styles look like? What options do I have in my budget? It'll give you a fairly decent idea when it comes to that, but I wouldn't use it for anything beyond just browsing. Certainly, never click contact agent if you already have one. All right. If you see a house that you like, if you see a home that you go, ooh, kind of like that, but I have questions, save it. Text the address, text the listing in Zillow over to your agent if you're working with one already. If you're not working with an agent and you don't have a committed relationship to them and you haven't signed a buyer agency agreement, then by all means hit contact agent. But if you already have one, please avoid that button like it's the plague. Next, don't over obsess over the Zestimates. If you want a real idea of what that home's value is, get real comps from your agent. We're going to be able to run a simulated report and give you a much better idea of what that home value is over top that Zestimate. Next thing you can do, if you want to get updates from Zillow, you want to get listings. You're like, oh, we're starting the home buying process. I like to see what's coming up as it comes up. The great news is, as an agent, we can all set up MLS alerts for accurate real-time listings. And you're never bothering us. The crazy thing that I hear so often from folks that are going on Zillow and hitting the contact agent button is, well, I didn't want to bother my agent. All my clients know you can bother me anytime. Now, if it's in the middle of the night, you're not going to hear from me, but I'm here to be bothered. And I'm not bothered. My job is to help you buy a home. It's to help understand the home buying process. You're never bothering me. That's what I get paid to do. That is my job, is to help you through this. And by helping you, many times it is answering questions. So don't think that you're bothering your agent. And if your agent is bothered, fire them, contact me. I'll connect you with a great agent in your area. But you're never bothering us. And we can set up those MLS alerts for you in real time. And if you're going, well, but I'm just kind of getting started, that's fine. There's nothing like developing a relationship with an agent, with a professional realtor agent in your area who knows what the hell they're doing and will take great care of you from the first time you're beginning all the way to the time you close, even if that's 5 years from now. Okay? So get that relationship with a warm-bodied, warm-blooded person, and not the algorithms that are Zillow. And just know that just because it's online doesn't mean it's still available. I actually had a client of ours, they closed on their house last week and it was still showing pending. Now, it's closed. It closed a week ago. They've already got the check. But the algorithms, the whatever processes, the back end that Zillow goes through, it still wasn't showing as closed. And she had questions. And I'm like, unfortunately, I've got no power over Zillow. They've got their thing. I have no power over them. So again, just because it's online doesn't mean it's actually real. So to wrap this up, Zillow's pretty slick, but it isn't your advocate. Your agent is. Your agent is being paid to be your fiduciary, meaning they are 100% in to protect you and keep your information confidential and do what's right by you. Secondly, buying a home, selling a home, it's too important to outsource to an algorithm. For most folks, I know for me, my home is my most expensive asset. And you're only going to buy a home a few times in your lifetime. Your agent, like myself, we get to buy a home almost every single day. Now, granted, it's for other people and with other people's money, but we're so familiar with it, we can do the home buying process like with our eyes closed. Don't rely on that to just an algorithm and a data farm that is Zillow. Get someone who knows you, your market, and what your goals are. That is most important. Use Zillow as a way to browse homes, but really nothing more beyond that. Sound good? All right. So that's going to wrap up for today. If you're still going to scroll Zillow in your pajamas tonight, no judgment. None whatsoever. Just do it now with your eyes open and your brain turned on. Remember, Zillow is a tool, it's not a strategy, and definitely not a replacement for a trusted local agent who actually gives a damn about your goals and knows you. If you've got questions about a listing you saw, a Zestimate throwing you off, or you're ready to stop Googling and start moving, I'm here. Let me help you connect you with a great agent in your area, or even me here in our area. Shoot me a message anytime, and let's talk about your first time home buying journey, what it should actually look like. Also, if you found this episode helpful, please do me a favor. Share it with someone who's house hunting, subscribe to the show, leave me a quick review. It helps more than you know, especially as we get back in front of this puppy and start giving you guys some really great, valuable content. I'll be back next week with more unfiltered advice for real people trying to buy their first home without losing their minds or their wallets. Until then, stay smart, stay curious, and don't let the algorithm do the driving. This has been your Uncle Adam. I'll see you guys next week. First Time Keys Podcast. See ya.